back to my channel. My name's Danny, this is Rocket, and you're watching Dragonaires Club. So in today's video, what we'll be doing is going through the rockscapes that I've previously created, and we'll be picking one in particular and breaking it apart into how I've basically built this structure. So if this is something that you'd be interested in doing yourself as a little project, well, fairly big project, then you'll have all of the equipment. I've basically put it into a shopping list for you, so you can find the equipment from the list and then just have a go and start creating it. They are quite time consuming to build, but I think the overall result is definitely worth it, to be honest. Then following that, we're going to be going into talking about heating and lighting and UV as well. So we're going to be setting up your heat gradient, what the temperatures should be throughout the vivarium, the equipment that you'll need, and that's basically it. That's going to be today's video. So hopefully anyone who's new to owning a bearded dragon will find this quite helpful. And that's pretty much it. So let's get into it.
Sitting across another short pause. Every time I see you, still feel so brand new. Am I not trying? Am I trying too hard? Am I just dying? Am I thinking too hard? And I'm wasting away, and you're wasting away, and I'm wasting away, and you're wasting away. It's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing. I'll just stand up and walk away. I don't think I'll go back. Am I still trying? Did I try too hard? Am I just dying? Am I thinking too hard? And I'm wasting away, and you're wasting away, and I'm wasting away, and I'm trying too hard, and you're wasting away, and I'm thinking too
Alright, so step 1, following the construction of the vivarium, we are going to Tetrion along all of the inside joining walls. This is going to help to create a waterproof barrier if we plan to go bioactive later. Next, we will be breaking apart a large foam sheet and placing the pieces in a way that creates a fairly interesting design. Typically, I do not plan my Rockscape designs prior to building. I just spend time playing with the pieces until I find a design that works. Once happy, I then begin to glue the pieces into place. When coming up with a design, it's also a good idea to try and involve as many hiding places as you can to give the reptile more security and comfort, and helps to design a more naturalistic look. If you are new to doing this and want to try it, then I highly recommend building your rockscape outside of the vivarium first, as removing the design once glued in can create an awful lot of mess.
still feel so brand new. Am I not trying? Am I trying too hard?
Once we have glued the initial rockscape design together, it is then time to spray foam. This will make the overall structure firmer and allows for carving when dry to help make the overall design much more naturalistic. Once finished with the spray foam, give it at least 2 to 3 days to fully expand and dry prior to carving it. Following carving out your spray foam design with a blade, next you will want to use a hot wire to create lines and edges that will create a more rock-like effect and remove the foamy look. Once you are happy with how your Rockscape is looking, it is then time to grout. With the first layer, use a fairly watery consistency, then increase the thickness of the grout thereafter. Ideally, you want a minimum of 3 layers covering your design. Between each coat of grout, leave the design to dry for at least 2 to 3 days. And following on from grouting, it is then time to seal your design. It is wise to research sealants prior to purchase, as ones that are not water-based can be highly toxic to reptiles. As with the grout, a minimum of 3 layers is required when it comes to sealing. Give 48 hours between each coat to allow the sealer to cure. And once you have finished applying all of the layers, give the sealant approximately 1 to 2 weeks. So we're going to start moving on now to talk about heating and lighting in your vivarium, as getting the heat gradient right for most reptiles is vital, with the bearded dragon being no exception. Bearded dragons are cold-blooded lizards, which means they rely on heat provided to them to thermoregulate. To do this, we need to provide them with a gradient to help replicate their needs in the wild. I typically tend to have the hot end at the right side of the vivarium and the cool side on the left. The hot side usually sits around 37 to 39 degrees, the middle around 30 to 33 degrees, and the cool end around 27-28 degrees. To monitor this, you need to use a habitat or a microclimate thermostat to regulate the temperatures in the vivarium. Attached to the habitat is a sensor, and it sits inside of the vivarium to monitor the temperature. I typically keep my sensor in the mid-range part of the vivarium so that the thermostat is working to maintain those mid-range temps. This then allows a heat gradient for the cool side to stay cooler than the mid-range, and the hot end to climb higher than the temperatures in the mid-range. Depending on the size of the vivarium, you may require a different size and strength heat bulb. The standard size bearded dragon vivarium is approximately 4x2x2, and for this, a 100-watt bulb would work perfectly. My largest dragon, Xander, sits in a 6x2x2, and I've used a 100-watt bulb to heat his vivarium, which works perfectly to maintain his heat gradient. So generally speaking, for a 4x2x2 size vivarium, you will require a 12% Pro T5 Desert UVB. UV is crucial for bearded dragons as it helps to synthesize vitamin D3. Without this, bearded dragons cannot absorb calcium, which leads to problems such as metabolic bone disease, and further increases the likelihood of your bearded dragon developing cancer due to a reduction of calcidol that requires D3 for absorption for it to be created in the liver. When it comes to buying a UVB light, I tend to go with the Arcadia Pro, which tend to come with a reflector, which helps the UV disperse that light better around the vivarium. And lastly, we're going to be talking about timers. So a timer is a very useful tool, especially if you're trying to maintain multiple vivariums all at once. It just offers you reassurance in terms of not having to constantly remember to turn the lights on and off. Just remember that reptiles such as bearded dragons require 12 hours of UV per day. So I have set all of the timers on my vivariums to run from 8 AM until 8 PM. When the clocks go back towards the end of October, the timers will run from 7 till 7, which is absolutely fine. Then when they go forward in March, they will then again return to 8 AM to 8 PM. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!